Alright, this is old versus new, and I'm here to do another old and new comparison. This time we're going to compare the old Starscream, G1 Starscream, with the classic Starscream. Now this is actually the commemorative series Starscream. This came out, I believe, in 2000 and... Actually, it says right here, this is the reissue from 2002 from Hasbro. They took the original modes that Takara had and re-released them for some kind of a special promotion. I don't recall what the promotion was, but they re-released the toys 2 years shy of the 20th anniversary. And here he is, in all his glory, the original G1 Starscream. After all these years, I still kept him in the box, but you know, I've played with it a couple times. So here he is in plain mode. Still has some of the original die-cast parts, okay, and then some heavier plastic in other areas. But this is an impressive plain mode. Here are the cannons that are supposed to go on his wings, and they eventually also go into his arms as well. So we just put them on like this. There we go. And the thing with this also is that the wheel detaches. It doesn't really fold or anything, so you got to take it off when he's in flight, and you put it back on when you want to simulate landing. And of course, the parts that become his feet have wheels on them, so they're die cast, maybe the red parts die cast metal, the feet is die cast. The rest of the body is hard plastic, and here you have the Decepticon logo. Very good play mode, excellent play mode, as I have to say. There's a lot of playability, a lot of fun. The interesting thing is that the wings detach. They're not stuck onto the frame of the body. They have to actually come off when you transform him. This particular wing, let me just show you here. I had a put a piece of tape around it because the stub was it was a little, I would say about a micrometer smaller than the port on the body in which it goes into. So I had to put some tape around it to kind of give it a little more volume so that when I put it on, it would stay in place. So that was the only drawback with this particular figure, was that the wings were a little loose, but with a little tape that problem was fixed, and I had absolutely no problem with it. So that's the G1 Hasbro re-release of the original Starscream. Okay, now compare that with the classics Starscream that was released about 2 years later. As you can see, slight difference in sizes. I'd say that the original is about a ½ an inch or so longer and a little bit wider. I don't know if you can check, but you can see there's a much wider wingspan on the original as opposed to the classics. And again, also the original, I keep calling it the original, but it's the reissue, but for all intents and purposes we'll call it the original. Original has a much heavier on this one, not as dynamic on this one. This is actually a much better play mode, but this one is a good play mode too. It's very good. It still evokes the original Starscream. And the thing also with this one, there's no wheels on it. It has no wheels on the front or back. I don't know if, I don't know why they did that. Probably because, again, with the safety standards, they can't have small parts on these toys. But it's not a detriment because it does stand up on its own, so it doesn't need wheels to support itself. It stands there just fine, And unlike this one, you're going to see in a second. Unlike this one, all the body parts are connected, so that it doesn't have to involve removing the wings of any way, shape, or form. It's all connected. The only thing that removes is the guns underneath the wings. Those have to be removed because they go on his arm. But other than that, it's one big piece. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now the robot modes of each one. So gun comes off. Front wheel comes off, and the wings come off. Now this is the frame you're left with, and this is the robot. So these become the feet, and here's the chest portion of it. The top here is where his head is at. So if you kind of have to be careful, but if you can see, I don't know if you can kind of see it, but if you look into it very carefully, you can actually see his head. His face is actually right here. The back here splits up right here. This is actually Seekers from the season 2 of Transformers, but you bring this back, and then here's his head. So now you have to add the other accessories to this. So he has hands that are separate from the rest of the body, so you got to snap on the fists right here. Here's one, and here's two, and then you add the guns that were on his wings. And of course these pieces here that went behind him, now they go on his feet. Bring it back just a bit, and voila. There is original G1 Starscream. And let me tell you right now, this is, even to this day, it holds up very nicely, this toy. It's a good robot mode. Not entirely cartoon accurate, but this came out before the cartoon, so I don't fault it for that, but it's still close to accurate. You know, he has the red chest, the blue fists. I don't have a problem with the color scheme on this figure. It's very good. It's a very nice representation. It's a wonderful toy. On this one, the missiles come off, obviously, but that's the only thing that comes off. Now, watch this. The feet, like in the original, they fold out, but the legs now come out, and obviously they split up. And if you open the chest up, you can release his arms. And then here's his head. You have to fold the cockpit down a little bit. There you go. And then bring this out. Turn the cockpit to the front, or what's going to be his front, because his head is right here. Bring the cockpit down like this. See if you can see it. There's a little linkage that was straight up that you have to kind of push down, and it'll fold downward to allow the cockpit to sink into his chest. And then the tip of the cockpit now goes behind his head like this. And now you bring out the fists. And then add the guns to his arms. And bam. You have Classics Starscream from Hasbro. Okay? Now let's compare the two right now. Put them side by side. And just do a quick comparison. Robot modes, obviously the Classics is closer to the cartoon. So for me, I prefer the Classics robot mode over the original Hasbro release. Not as cartoon accurate as the Hasbro version, the G1 version, as opposed to the Classics. Again, the robot mode on this one is better, more posability. He can twist his calves, his arms can fold. He just looks all around solid. Like, he does evoke, without equivocation, the original Starscream from the cartoons. My only gripe with this figure is that it's made out of a very light plastic. The other Classics in the line were kind of heavier plastic, but this one is a very light plastic. I'm not just scared to drop it, because I'm scared that if I drop it, I'll end up breaking some of the joints off. I think it's a very delicate figure, in my opinion. Not so delicate, but I can't play as rough with it as I would want to, if I would ever have a Transformer War. This one is obviously a heavier material, the die cast and the heavier plastic, so this figure has the advantage as far as the quality of material that was used to make it, as opposed to this figure. But you can also see that they're basically the same size. Hasbro, when they did the classics for the Starscream, decided to keep the same size. I don't know why, because when you compare this to some of the other Transformers, like Megatron, for example, he's actually very small. And here he is, Megatron. This is the original Megatron. If you look at the Starscreams, they're very small comparison to him. Thing you'll notice that the Megatron was part of the Microman toy line in Japan. So they're actually the same height as Megatron. That includes Soundwave and a couple of other Transformers. He was part of the Diaclone line, Starscream was. So I guess they didn't factor in that they were eventually going to become part of the same toy line when Hasbro imported them to America. But then, all in all, they're both great figures. You can go either way. If you decided to just stick with this figure as your main Starscream figure, you can't go wrong with it. It's a great toy after all these years. I chose to stick with this one because it's more cartoon accurate. So what I'm going to do with this figure is I'm going to give it to my son when he's a little older, because he's starting to like Transformers now. He likes the old Transformers cartoons. So I'm trying to build his collection. And I think it'd be great for him to have this as part of his collection. It's great material. It's a lot of nostalgia and history behind it. So I'm going to give this to my son and include it as part of his collection. I think he's absolutely going to love. And he's 3 years old right now, so I probably won't give it to him for a couple of years at least. Like maybe when he's like 5 or 6, and I have to sit down with him and talk to him, then I'll give it to him. And I think he's going to love it, you know. They don't really make many G1 figures anymore, so can't hurt to start your own collection with some of the more nostalgic and legendary figures. But again, I choose this as my main Starscream figure because of the cartoon accuracy and also because not many accessories. So, you basically have one figure, one toy onto itself as opposed to all the different accessories that this one comes with. I'd even show you these missiles, But again, you can't go wrong either way. I'm just going to choose this as my main figure. So, so that's it for the review, and I'll come back with more reviews later on. So leave a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right? Thanks a lot. This is fun. Take care.